welcome back to my channel. I try to focus on UberEats drivers, and because I'm an UberEats driver, and I like to just share my experience and what I learn. That way, it can help people understand what this is like, as well as if this is right for them or if you want some tips. So, in today's video, I'm going to share how I handle apartment buildings, just so that they're not as frustrating as they once were. Yeah. So apartment buildings are very frustrating for a number of reasons. I can't even start. There's so many. But a few reasons is because the layout is not, there's not a standard way for apartments, and it's almost like the developers were all on drugs, so and none of it makes sense. Like building 1 is here, and then building 2 is here, and then 3 and 4 is here, and I'm like, none of this makes sense now. And yesterday I went to an apartment complex that I swear that they just took a few blocks of buildings, and they were all shaped different and all in different colors, and it's all one apartment building. like, and each of the buildings was like on its own little cul-de-sac. It was like all these random houses, and they just like made the houses into apartments. I don't even know what to say. That was kind of irritating, but tip number 1 is to listen to your gut. Listening to my gut helps me out so much when I'm going and delivering to apartments, even downtown buildings, anything that's kind of stressful and there's not a standard way of doing things. Most definitely, it is going to require my gut. Because numbers are not consistently put on the buildings, and a lot of the times they're too small, or another irritation of mine, which I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand developers because this just doesn't make sense. It's like you have the building number, and then you have like all the covered parking, but when you're in a car, you can't see the building number. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you actually have to be walking around to look at it. So gotta keep your cool, I guess. I don't know. It's very frustrating, so I understand 100%, especially if there's not a lot of signage, and even if there is quite a bit of signage, it's not very clear, and numbers are hard to find, and customers are they have high expectations. Like, what? Are you stupid? Why couldn't you find this building faster? I guess. I don't know. This is what I think. So, I have been doing this for a while, so I have made it to the point that I do not call that customer for anything unless specifically in the instructions it says please call when arrive. And even then, I will not call until I find that building number, because it causes more frustration for the customer, I feel. So I would not recommend to do that. I would not recommend, when you get to the apartment complex and you look at a few buildings and you don't know which way to go, just to call the customer. I guess for some people with a different kind of personality than me, that might work. If that works for you, let me know down below. But it doesn't work, because it doesn't help me. Like, what they tell me, it doesn't help me at all. Usually it never helps me. Like, I'm not going to say, it doesn't get us connected. I'm just going to say that I feel like me wandering around would find them a lot faster. And 2, I don't like being given directions while I'm moving. It's very hard for me to be aware of all the surroundings, as well as listening to this person tell me what they think would help me when they don't even know me. So there's another situation where it's a gated community and the gate's opened, but I didn't know to go to the right or to go to the left, so I just decided to go to the left. And I thought that I was going to do pretty well. There were some low numbers, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to the teens or whatnot. So I was like, okay. Or maybe like building 11 or something. I have no idea. Can't remember. And so usually, all the like the apartment complex is open. So even if you go on the left, you can make it over to the right, and if you enter it on the right, you could make it over to the left. And that was kind of like my thinking. Not this apartment building, not this apartment complex. So I didn't know, like I didn't have a code, and so I was like, okay, well maybe I'll just foot it to the other side. And the other side was like twice as big as the side that I entered. And I eventually had to walk all the way clear to the other side. And it was the last building, like the furthest away. And they called me as soon as like I got to the door. Like as soon as I was like walking up like that pathway up to the door, like the final pathway to check. And I'm like, I'm here. Found you. But there was no instructions. And so usually in that situation, I just would prefer to be given the instructions to begin with. You know, I don't like calling when I arrive and being given directions. I feel like I'm slow. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. Like I have higher IQ than that, okay, y'all? Like I can handle directions, I promise. I cannot handle you giving me one direction, having me do that direction, and then giving me the next direction. And then people do that. I don't know who they think they're talking to, but I'm like, this is taking so much longer. I don't know. If anybody is, I don't really care what that means, but if you feel that, let me know in the comments. I'm just saying, I listen to my gut, and usually because I can't see the numbers and, you know, things aren't very clear, I just kind of pull in, and I actually found a hidden building in downtown Dallas, and I don't understand people. And I feel bad when things take too long, and I know that they're taking too long, or I feel bad if I circle, but what can you do, you know? So if you're delivering to an apartment, my first tip is just to remain calm and let yourself know. Like, speak facts and be like, yeah, this might be frustrating, and yeah, it's probably going to take longer than you would want, and yeah, you might make the wrong turn, but it's going to be okay. You need to just keep a good attitude, and when you find the customer, just apologize and say, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I just went the wrong way. I do that all the time, and I don't get thumbs down for it because I'm honest and I'm genuine, and I really did want to get there faster. But sometimes things are just confusing or complicated, or we don't know as drivers, so don't beat yourself up. And also, don't blame the customer, because the customer, yes, it's probably their responsibility to let us know any information so that we can get to them much faster. But it's not really going to make a big difference on how much money you make if you kind of like get resentful. It's going to benefit you a lot more if you just let it go and say, okay, well, next time I know this. And every time that happens and I go to that like apartment complex or that building in downtown for the second or third or fourth time, sometimes it takes me a couple of times, especially if like the deliveries take a while, you know, before I go, like a few months. Then I need like a refresher. But eventually I get like the hang of the building, or I get the hang of those apartment complexes, and I kind of know where, like I know if I need to go left or right. So just the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be, as well as that if you are very frustrated delivering in the daylight, after dark is going to be like 10 times harder. So I would definitely recommend to try to limit your nighttime deliveries until you feel much more comfortable even during the day, and then you can kind of start getting back into the night deliveries, because I just think it's more important to be a happy delivery driver than somebody who just brings food, and I think the customers really appreciate that. Good luck out there.